My dad gave my golden brother the family company that I built for years and left me with scraps. So I left and watched them collapse without me. But now they are begging. Hey, Reddit, you ever have a job where your boss treats you like you're 12 years old doing chores for allowance? Except the boss is your own dad. Yeah, that was my life for way too long. I, 32 female, was busting my back in the family business while he acted like I was just the hired help with the same last name. It finally hit a point where I'd had enough. So, I made a move that ended up flipping everything upside down. And let's just say they didn't see it coming. So, my old man owns a business. Blue-collar stuff. Not glamorous, but it pays well enough that he can act like he's some kind of business messiah in our small town. Built it from nothing, he says every time someone compliments the shop. Like he didn't have me busting my back while he sat in the office pretending to understand spreadsheets. Now here's the kicker. My older brother is the second coming of Christ in his eyes. Got a business degree from an MA college, and suddenly he's the chosen one. I'm not exaggerating. The guy got a C in econ once, and my dad still framed the exam like it was a Medal of Honor. Meanwhile, I've been in the field since I was 17 doing the actual work. Grinding, fixing, troubleshooting messes other people walked away from. And you know what I get? Thanks, sport. No stake, no say. Just a pat on the head and back to the grind. Dad's been grooming my brother to take over since day one, not even subtle. I was literally in the room when he told me. And I quote, "You'll never run this place. You're better with tools, not decisions." Dead serious. Like I'm a caveman with a wrench, and he's the only guy with enough brain cells to check email. It didn't even sting at that point. I just stared at him like, wow, at least pretend to respect me. I asked if there was any room for me in the business once he retires. Something, a percentage, a piece. I didn't even ask for half, just something to show I mattered. And he gives me this smug little nod and goes, "You'll get something after I'm gone." What a guy. Basically told me to wait for him to die, and maybe, he'll leave me a few scraps in the will. Gee, thanks, Pops. Can't wait to inherit a broken forklift and some rusty tools after you croak. My brother sat there in the meeting with his arms crossed, smirking like he just won the lottery. Didn't say a word, didn't even pretend to back me up. Of course not. He's the golden child, has been since birth, got the bigger bedroom with his own TV, the newer bike every 2 years like clockwork, fewer chores, lighter punishments, you name it. Dude could sneeze and get praised for spreading innovation. I remember one time he accidentally left the garage open overnight and raccoons got into everything. My dad blamed me for not checking it behind him. Another time he crashed Dad's pickup truck into a tree in the driveway, and somehow I got yelled at for not warning him about the road being slippery. Like, what was I supposed to do? Salt the whole neighborhood? That kind of golden. Meanwhile, me? I was labeled the impulsive one because I dropped out of college for a year, not to party or mess around. I got a solid job fixing HVAC systems and actually learned real skills. Best hands-on experience I've ever had. But to my dad, that move was like committing treason. One gap year, and I'm a wild card for life. Every conversation after that came with some passive-aggressive comment about finishing what you start or sticking to the plan. Meanwhile, my brother got caught straight up plagiarizing an entire essay in college, copy-pasted from some online archive, and my dad spun it into entrepreneurial thinking because he's resourceful under pressure. I swear if he burned the house down, my dad would have said it was an experiment in fire safety. I wasn't the kid who rebelled, I was the kid who got ignored, unless something broke. And then suddenly, I was the only one who knew how to fix it. My brother got celebrated for showing up. I had to bleed just to get a good job once a year. That meeting was just the latest slap in the face. My dad laid out his grand succession plan, complete with a new title and shiny office for my brother. I asked, barely asked, if there was a place for me in that plan. Not even half the business, just a little piece, a stake, something to show I wasn't just a glorified wrench monkey. And what did I get? You'll get something after I'm gone. So yeah, after that little heart-to-heart about how I was basically a glorified temp worker in my own family's company, I hit my limit. Went home, sat in my car for like half an hour just staring at the dash, thinking about how stupid I was for giving this place so many years. I've carried that shop through all kinds of crap. Deadlines, broken machines, lazy hires, you name it. I was the one they called when stuff hit the fan. And all I've gotten back is attitude and second-place treatment. The next morning, I typed up a 2 weeks notice. No drama, no rant, just a clean, I'm done. Handed it to my dad during lunch like I was dropping off his dry cleaning. He glanced at it and said, "Is this about what I said yesterday?" I said, "Nah, just time to move on." And he hits me with, "All right, good luck, but you won't last without me and your brother." I actually smiled. That's the part that got me. He really believed that, like I was going to crash and burn the second I didn't have him micromanaging my every move or my brother messing things up beside me. No, are you sure? No, let's talk this through. Just a weird little ego trip and right back to chewing his sandwich. That told me everything I needed to know. I was never meant to be anything more than the backup wrench in the drawer, pulled out when things got messy, ignored the rest of the time. But the fact that he thought I couldn't survive without them, man, that was almost funnier than it was insulting. Anyways, I still showed up for work like normal, even though every second felt like a joke. My brother barely said 2 words to me all week. Acted like I was invisible. I think he figured I'd come crawling back or something. Then a few days later, Jared, the guy who represents our biggest client, comes by asking if I can handle a project next week. I tell him, can't, I won't be here. He gives me this confused look and goes, "Wait, what?" So I explain I'm leaving. Don't give details, just say it's personal. I don't want to sound bitter, even though I was ready to scream into a pillow every night. He looks stunned. He's like, "You're the only one we ask for." Which, yeah, I knew that. They always requested me. Not my brother, not the guy with the degree, me, because I actually got stuff done. He asked if I had another job lined up. I told him, no, not yet. And it was true. I figured I'd freelance for a bit or just take a breather. Not a lot of companies need someone with my skill set, but I was willing to figure it out. And that should have been the end of it. Me quietly bowing out, finding something else, moving on. But turns out someone else had bigger plans for me. The morning after, I walk into the shop and my dad's sitting at his desk like nothing happened. Doesn't even look up. I say morning and he goes, "You're still coming in on time even after quitting? That's new." Yeah, real classy, dude. Acts like I used to roll in 3 hours late when I've been the one unlocking the damn place half the time because he couldn't get out of bed before 9 a.m. And yeah, I was still showing up. Not for him, not for the paycheck, just because I wanted to walk out the right way. No loose ends. No, she left us hanging stories. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of saying I ghosted or bailed. I'd already mentally pieced out. I was just tying up the last few knots before I left the mess behind. So, I head to the floor, and guess what? Half the morning crew is standing around because the delivery truck didn't get loaded last night. My brother was supposed to handle it since I'm stepping back. He didn't. And now the order's late and the client's already pissed. So who ends up jumping in to fix it? Yep, me again. And while I'm hauling pallets to save their rep from collapsing faster than Dad's hairline, guess who walks in holding a cold brew and acting like a manager? "Let's make sure this doesn't happen again," my brother says. No, sorry. No, thanks for covering. Just that smug, I watched a TED Talk tone he uses when he's trying to sound like a leader. I stare at him. Yeah, maybe try loading it next time instead of delegating to the void. He blinks, doesn't respond, just turns around and walks off to review numbers, which I'm 100% sure means scrolling LinkedIn and pretending he's networking. Then, this is gold. Around lunch, my dad finally calls me into his office. Big man wants to chat. So I sit down, arms crossed, already bracing for a guilt trip. He opens with, "So, I thought about your decision to leave, and I'm willing to raise your pay." I raise an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? What's the offer?" $1.50 more an hour, he says. Dead serious. Leans back like he just offered me stock in Tesla. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. That's what you think I'm worth after all these years? He frowns like I just insulted him. It's a good rate. Most people your age aren't making that kind of money. Brother, I'm not most people. I'm the one your biggest client specifically asks for. I'm the one who trained half your staff. I'm the one who made you look like a genius while you sat in your office watching old car restoration videos and pretending to do payroll. I didn't say all that, obviously. Just stood up, said, "I'll pass," and walked out. Next day, chaos. Jared shows up around 10 a.m., already looking annoyed. I guess he was told the install was on track, except it wasn't. Brother Dearest gave him a fake update because he didn't want to admit he forgot to order the mounting hardware. Real pro stuff. Jared spots me across the floor and beelines over. "Hey, can you explain why nothing's ready for the Vantry job?" I blink. You'll have to ask the new manager. I'm just a spectator now. He looks at me, then looks over at my brother, trying to Google industrial mount brackets on his phone like nobody's watching. So you're really leaving? Jared asks, quieter. Yeah, Friday's my last day. He nods slowly. Where to? I shake my head. No clue. Might take a break. That man paused, like he just found out his dentist was quitting mid-root canal. You're the only reason we kept the contract this long. Just saying. That felt good, not even going to lie. And that's when the twist came. Jared's boss, never met him before, shows up. Real serious guy, clean suit, clipboard, the whole vibe. Spends 10 minutes watching the floor, checking equipment, then pulls me aside. Mind if I ask you a question, he says. Sure. You ever think about running your own crew? I blink like freelance number. I mean full-time, in-house. We've been thinking of internalizing this operation, but we've had trouble finding someone who knows the work and can manage people. You come highly recommended. I just stood there, jaw probably on the floor. I hadn't even looked for a job, and this guy's offering me one on the spot. He tells me to think about it, gives me a rough figure. Spoiler, it's more than I've ever made in my life. Plus office, benefits, equipment, budget, the works. I didn't say yes. Not yet. Still had 2 more days on the clock, and I wasn't going to give my dad the satisfaction of saying I quit early. But oh man, my brain was already packing my mental boxes. That afternoon, my dad walks by the loading area and sees me talking to Jared and his boss. Doesn't ask what's up. Doesn't even pause. Just gives me a look like I'm wasting company time chatting. I should have said something. I should have told him that guy's offering me a real future while he's still handing out nickels and calling it a raise. But nah, I just smiled. Let him be ignorant. He thinks I'm just some angry quitter. In reality, I'm the woman his clients want to hire away. That night, I got home, cracked open a soda, and stared at my phone for like an hour. Didn't even open apps. Just sat there thinking. They don't know it yet, but they're about to feel what it's like when the spare daughter walks away. And this time, I'm not coming back. So, Friday rolled around. My official last day. I came in early. Not because I wanted to impress anyone, but because I had one last thing to finish. The Vauntry order was still a mess. And I was the only person who even knew where half the supplies were. Could have let it crash and burn. But I had one rule. If my name's attached, it doesn't go out half done. I finished clean so nobody gets to say I was the problem. Of course, my dad didn't say a word. Not even a thanks. Not a handshake. Not even a fake good luck. He just walked past me in the morning like I was air and told the receptionist to get coffee for the team, which apparently didn't include me anymore. Not that I was expecting anything different. At this point, if the building were on fire and I was holding the extinguisher, he'd still hand it to my brother and tell me to step aside. My brother, by the way, spent the entire day fumbling through a phone call with another client, pretending he knew what they were talking about. I overheard him telling them the install time would probably be standard. What does that even mean? Standard like last month's job that took 3 days longer because he forgot to measure the bracket space? Or standard like he makes up numbers and hopes no one notices? Anyway, around noon, Jared came by, this time with his boss again. No clipboard today, just a folder and a smile. Got a minute? He asked. I wiped my hands on a towel, nodded, and followed him out to the lot. His boss handed me the offer in writing. 3-year contract. Salary that almost made me laugh out loud. Bonus structure. Benefits. My own budget. An office. Yes, again, with the mini fridge. They even added a line for me to approve the hiring of 2 techs under me. I didn't hesitate. Signed right there on the hood of my truck. Not a single pause. Not a single, but what about my family? Or, is this fair to my dad? They made it crystal clear. I was disposable to them. So now they get to see what happens when the extra walks away with the client that kept their business floating. And don't get it twisted. I didn't steal anyone. Jared came to me. They needed someone who knew what they were doing. I just happened to be the only one who fit that bill. I walked back inside with my signed copy still in my hand. Didn't hide it. Didn't flaunt it either. Just put it in my locker with the rest of my stuff. Then I did the pettiest thing I've ever done, and I don't even feel bad about it. I went to the break room and cleared out my locker. Took my tools, my coffee mug, my gloves, everything. But I left the plaque they gave me 5 years ago that said Employee of the Quarter sitting right on top of my brother's desk. He didn't even earn one, ever. Just thought it would look good there now that he's in charge. And right before I walked out, my dad finally comes over. No greeting. Just that annoyed, tight-jawed look he does when he realizes he can't fix something with fake authority. "So you're really doing this?" he says, arms crossed. I blink at him. "Doing what exactly?" "You know what I mean. Leaving. Taking the client." I smiled. "I didn't take anything. They offered. You said I wasn't leadership material. They disagreed." He opened his mouth to say something, but I cut him off. "You made your choice, Dad. You wanted one child to run the place and one to follow orders. Looks like the follower got promoted elsewhere." And then I walked out. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't care. By Monday, I was in my new workspace. Air conditioning, my name on a door, brand new tools, assigned parking. The 2 guys I hired actually showed up on time and asked me for instructions without rolling their eyes or acting like they knew better. It was weird, being respected. Jared came in midweek just to check in. He shook my hand and said, "Glad we got you." I just nodded and said, "You got the best part of that deal. Trust me." Meanwhile, I start hearing little things through the grapevine. One of the guys from the old shop texted me, "Yo, they're scrambling now. Can't even get the wiring right without you." Another one messaged, "Your brother told a client we could wing it." Wing it on a 5-figure installation. And my dad tried to call Jared's boss to clear the air. Apparently blamed me for stirring the pot. The guy hung up on him halfway through the call. They're flailing, and I'm over here with my feet up reviewing equipment orders like I'm running the place, because now I am. Revenge didn't need yelling or lawsuits or drama. I just walked out, took the piece they never valued, and made it the one thing they couldn't replace. And no, I don't feel bad. They made the rules. I just learned how to play them better. So, less than a week into my new gig, I get a random LinkedIn message from Randy. He's one of the techs at my dad's place. Not someone I'd ever expect to hear from unless a forklift ran over his foot or something. His message just says, "Bro, you would not believe what's happening over here." I reply with, "Try me." 10 minutes later, he sends a wall of texts. Turns out 2 more clients pulled out. Not because of me, don't get it twisted, but because the golden boy forgot to send a follow-up quote to one of them and completely misread the specs for another job. They showed up with the wrong equipment. The client literally threw them off the lot. Oh, and that late shipment from last week, the Vantry one I bailed them out on before I left? They delivered it without the bracket mounts because my brother assumed the client would already have those installed. Brother, it's your company's job to install them. That's the whole deal. They had to comp the job, lost money, and apparently that triggered one of their backup clients to start looking elsewhere just in case. The best part? My dad tried to act like I sabotaged something, told the crew someone must have tampered with the order files before leaving. Real detective work, Sherlock. Nope, I didn't touch a thing. Your golden boy just doesn't know how to click a checklist. Meanwhile, at my new job, heaven. I'm not even exaggerating. My office chair leans back. The AC works. The coffee is free and doesn't taste like burnt tires. I got 2 guys under me, Sam and Hector, who actually listen. And one of them used to work at a competitor firm. We're flying through our first project so fast the client bumped our deadline up. Not back. They were that impressed. So while I'm out here racking up W's, my dad's business is bleeding out. And then the wildest thing happened. On Friday, I get a call from a number I don't recognize. Normally, I don't answer unknowns, but I was between tasks and feeling spicy. It's my uncle, Dad's older brother, the one who co-signed the business loan years ago when they expanded. He's calm, but I can tell something's off. He goes, "Hey, I heard what happened with you leaving. Just wanted to say, good move." I blink. "Wait, what?" He says, "Your dad never gave you credit for anything. It was obvious to all of us." Brother, this is the first time anyone in the family has ever said that out loud. He tells me he got looped into a meeting earlier that week where my dad basically tried to beg for help, financial help. Says they're down 3 clients and cash flow's disrupted. In normal human speak, they're broke. Uncle said he told them flat out, "This is what happens when you build an entire operation around one kid and ignore the one doing the work." Mic drop. He even asked if I needed any help setting up additional services on my side, like maybe opening a secondary location down the line. Total 180. Guy was ready to back me now. I thanked him and told him I was good for now. But yeah, that call stuck with me. Anyway, back to the firestorm. That Monday, I get another message. This time from Lena, the front desk girl from my dad's company. She's quitting, wants to know if I'm hiring. Apparently, my brother tried to shift blame for one of the client losses onto her. She found out he told the client she forgot to confirm the delivery, when he's the one who deleted the email thread by accident. He even tried to offer her a write-up to make it go away. So now they're down another employee. And then came the plot twist of all plot twists. I get a text from Jared. He sends me a screenshot. It's an email from my dad to Jared's boss, and it's wild. He accuses me of poaching the client, says I used inside access to manipulate client relationships, and finishes it off by demanding compensation for loss of revenue due to employee misconduct. I nearly dropped my phone laughing. First off, I didn't poach Jack. They came to me. Second, nothing was underhanded. Unless being better at your job than your replacement is a crime now. I called Jared immediately. He picks up laughing. Dude, don't worry. My boss read that, shook his head, and flagged it. You're solid. I said, did he actually write that with a straight face? Apparently he even CC'd my brother, like that made it more legit. Then Jared hit me with the kicker. My boss replied with one sentence. We do not negotiate with incompetence. I'm not making that up. It was glorious. By Wednesday, Randy tells me they've officially started layoffs. Quiet ones, trying not to trigger panic. First 2 guys gone were from the install team. One of them was the guy who trained my brother. The irony is poetic. I should feel something, right? Sadness, maybe? Guilt? Nope, not a drop. They made me feel small, invisible, replaceable. Now they're the ones getting replaced. And I haven't even broken a sweat. It didn't just stop there. The news kept raining on, and it didn't trickle in. It dropped like a damn safe. I was working through a supply order when Jared knocks on my office door with his phone in his hand. He's got this half grin like he just read something juicy. You're going to want to see this, he says. He hands me his phone. It's a forwarded email chain between a local subcontractor and a few clients that used to work with my dad's company. The subcontractor CC'd my dad and brother, and now their firm's getting reported for fraud. Apparently, my genius brother had been sending out updated invoices with adjusted rates, only they weren't approved rates. He marked up some jobs by 20 to 30% and padded the hours to make up for losses after I left. But he never told the clients, never got signatures, nothing. And guess what? One of those clients was a city municipality job, government contract. Yeah, real smart. They were now being investigated for billing fraud on public projects. I handed the phone back and just started laughing. Loud. Probably louder than I should have. Jared just sat down and goes, dude, this might go nuclear. Turns out one of the clients hired a legal team to audit every invoice from the last 12 months. They're trying to figure out how deep the overcharging goes. And since most of it happened after I left, it's all Golden Boy's doing. But that's not even the worst of it. Later that afternoon, I get a call from Adam, the new front desk guy from back at the shop. He sounds freaked out. He tells me that the IRS showed up that morning. Like full-on visit. Badges, documents, questions. They wanted to speak to my dad about inconsistent financial reporting. I almost dropped my phone. Apparently, my dad had been doing more than just mismanaging money. He was funneling payments between shell accounts, some under my mom's name. She passed away 6 years ago, by the way. And he'd been delaying payroll taxes so long it triggered a full-blown audit. And my brother? According to Adam, he tried to play it cool, said, oh, this is probably just a routine check. Yeah, routine IRS visits come with 2 agents, a lawyer, and a clipboard thick enough to kill a raccoon. Adam said he quit on the spot. Didn't even log out of his email. Just grabbed his stuff and walked out while my dad was mid-sentence. And here's the twist that really iced the cake. They tried to pin it on me. Yep. Apparently, my dad told the IRS I was the one who set up the secondary vendor accounts. Which is insane because I never even had access to that side of the books. I was on the floor doing real work, not clicking around QuickBooks like a shady accountant with a Red Bull addiction. I got a heads up from a mutual connection, a guy who used to do security installations with us. He overheard my dad ranting that I was sabotaging the company and leaking information to competitors. This man, the same one who told me I was just the muscle, now suddenly I'm a criminal mastermind. That night, I got a call from Jared's boss. He assured me their legal team already shut down any whispers about me being involved. They're throwing darts blindfolded, he said. You're fine. They're desperate. Damn right they are. By the end of that week, 3 more former clients had filed formal complaints against my dad's company. And my brother? He tried to give a statement on behalf of the company. I found the clip on Facebook. 35 seconds of him stuttering through corporate buzzwords while dodging every actual question. One lady in the comments wrote, "Why does this dude blink like he's being held hostage?" I laughed so hard I almost fell off the couch. And me? I was eating takeout in a clean office with zero stress while watching them burn the business down like they were speedrunning financial ruin. No pity, no guilt. They picked their favorite son, put him in charge, let him screw it all up. Now they're paying the price, literally. And best believe I'm not done watching. Because the next thing was them coming to my office door. It started with a knock on the glass. I was in my office going through supply chain estimates for the quarter, sipping on a coffee that didn't taste like it was filtered through regret. I looked up, and there they were. My dad and my brother, standing just outside the main doors of my building, wearing that weird mix of trying to look professional and barely holding it together. I didn't move, just watched them through the glass like two stray dogs who wandered into a steakhouse. My brother looked fidgety, sweating even though it was barely 70 out. My dad had that fake calm face, the one he used whenever he was about to lie through his teeth. I took another sip. Then I got up, buzzed them in through reception, and leaned back in my chair like I wasn't about to watch a live episode of their downfall. They stepped in awkward, like middle school kids walking into the wrong classroom. "Nice place," my dad said, eyes scanning the room. I didn't respond, just stared. "Let the silence do the work." "We were hoping we could talk," he added, clearing his throat. "Sit," I said, motioning to the chairs across from my desk. They sat. It was quiet for a second. Then my brother spoke first, of course. "Look, we know things got out of hand. Mistakes were made, but we're trying to move forward. Clean slate." I almost laughed. "Mistakes?" I leaned forward. "You mean the fraud investigation? The fake invoices? The shell accounts? Or the part where you tried to blame me for it?" My dad winced, my brother flinched. "All right," Dad said, holding up a hand. "I'll admit we were in a bad spot, but we thought we could manage it, and then things escalated faster than expected." I stared at him, this man who once told me to stay in my lane, who said I wasn't fit to lead. Now sitting across from me, coat wrinkled, face pale, eyes begging. "You're not managing anything," I said. "Your company's under investigation. Your accounts are frozen. Your equipment's outdated. And every decent worker you had is either here or gone." Silence. "We're trying to avoid bankruptcy," my brother finally said. "We were hoping maybe you'd consider helping us out." That's when I smiled, a slow, steady, not-so-nice smile. "Help how?" My dad straightened up like he rehearsed this. "We're willing to offer you a share of the company, real partnership, even controlling interest if you want." My jaw tightened, not because I was angry, but because I was holding back a laugh. "Let me get this straight," I said. "You're offering me control over a business that's weeks away from being shut down. That's being investigated for fraud. That's hemorrhaging clients. And now, after everything, you want to hand me the wheel and act like it's a gift?" My brother squirmed in his chair. "You're our only shot," he muttered. I let that hang for a second. "You remember what you said to me?" I asked my dad, "when I asked for a stake in the company a year ago?" He looked down. "You said I'd get something after you died," I said. "So what's changed? You still alive, right?" "Don't be petty," my dad snapped, finally showing some fire. "This is serious." I stood up slowly, walked to the window, looked out over the parking lot, the clean lines, the organized crew working below, my operation, my rules. "You called me selfish," I said quietly. "Told me I wasn't leadership material. You gave the golden child the kingdom and told me to sweep the floors. You treated me like a backup plan. And now that the plan failed, you come running to the daughter you ignored." No one responded. I turned back to them. My dad's face was red now. My brother looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. "You two made this mess," I said. "And now you're asking the girl you discarded to fix it?" "You don't have to fix it," my brother said quickly. "We just need help stabilizing. A loan, maybe a temporary contract, or just referrals." I held up a hand. "Stop." They both shut up. "You came here hoping I'd save you, and I could. I have the money, the resources, the network. I could throw you a line and maybe you'd stay afloat." Their eyes lit up for a second. "But I won't." Their faces dropped like bricks. "You don't deserve it," I said. "You didn't just push me out. You tried to erase me. Then, when everything fell apart, you blamed me, like some bitter Hail Mary. You tried to destroy me, and now you want me to rebuild you?" I stepped forward, hands in my pockets. "You want a clean slate? Get in line. That's not how it works anymore. You burned that bridge with gasoline and danced on the ashes." My dad opened his mouth. I didn't let him speak. "I didn't build this place to throw lifelines to people who buried me." I walked back to my desk, sat down, and stared them down. "You can leave now." They sat there for a second, stunned. Then they stood up slowly. No fight. No argument. Just shame. My brother looked at me one last time. You really won't help us? I stared right at him. I did help, I said, by leaving. And with that, they walked out. No handshake, no goodbye. Just the soft click of the glass door closing behind them. I sat there for a while after, not thinking, not celebrating, just sitting. It wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about finally being in a place where I didn't need them to acknowledge my worth, because I built something without them. And that's what killed them the most. The black sheep had become the wolf. A few days later, Sam knocked on my office door with a clipboard. Got a minute? I nodded. He sat down and said, just wanted to say, I appreciate how you run things. Feels different here. Like we matter. I blinked. That hit harder than I expected. Thanks, Sam, I said. I'm glad you feel that way. It was a weird moment. Quiet. Simple. But it felt bigger than any speech or award I'd ever received back at the old shop. That weekend, I went out for a walk downtown. Ended up running into Jared and his wife outside a cafe. We chatted for a bit. Laughed. He asked how I was settling in. Feels like the first time I'm breathing clean air, I told him. He grinned. Told you you'd thrive. We just gave you the room to do it. As I walked away, sipping an iced tea and soaking in the sun, I thought about how far I'd come. No more tools shoved in my hands like I was just the help. No more empty praise from a father who only saw my worth when he needed something. No more standing in someone else's shadow while being told to be grateful. I was done. I had a nameplate on the door, a team that respected me, clients who trusted me, a future that didn't depend on anyone else's approval. Then came the news. A formal announcement from my old company, Anderson Mechanical, is entering a restructuring phase due to recent operational challenges. Translation? They were gutting everything. I got a text from Randy. They laid off 6 more people today, including Jake. Jake, my brother, the golden boy, gone. I just stared at the screen for a second. Then I replied with 2 words, about time. It didn't bring me joy, not exactly, but it felt just and poetic, because the girl they treated like a sidekick, she became the lead. The helper, now the boss. The overlooked, now the one making decisions. I didn't burn their house down. They did that themselves. I just walked away and took the match with me. The next few months were a blur in the best way. We completed our first 3 projects ahead of schedule, got rave reviews, picked up a couple of contracts that used to belong to my dad's firm. We hired 2 more staff. I upgraded our workspace, bought better tools, invested in a training program for new hires. Jared's boss offered to back us if we ever wanted to expand into other regions. Said he liked the way we ran things. Tight, efficient, human. And one morning, as I unlocked the front door, coffee in one hand, keys in the other, I caught my reflection in the glass. I saw someone calm, capable, whole. I didn't flinch. Didn't question it. Didn't wait for anyone else to tell me I was enough. Because I already knew. And that's the kind of success they'll never understand. It wasn't long before the calls started coming in. Not from my dad or my brother. No, they were too proud for that. But from old vendors, former clients, even distant relatives who somehow got wind of what I was building. Everyone suddenly remembered my name. One of the clients who had dropped my dad's company months earlier reached out directly. Wanted to know if I could take over their maintenance contract. We just want someone reliable, he said. And your name kept coming up. I didn't gloat. I didn't even think twice. I just forwarded the details to Sam and Hector and told them to handle the onboarding. Delegating felt good. Being the one in charge felt right. Then, late one Thursday evening, I got a message from Lena, the former front desk girl. You dodged a bullet, she wrote. They're being investigated by the state now. Labor board's involved. Apparently, your brother tried to cut final paychecks short. People are talking about lawsuits. I set my phone down and just stared out the window of my office. The sky was turning that deep blue-purple that happens right before night falls completely. The shop was quiet, just the hum of equipment cooling down and the occasional clink of tools being locked away. I was alone, but not lonely. I had built something honest, something stable, something mine. A few weeks later, I ran into someone from my past, Mr. Clayton, one of my high school teachers. He used to run the shop class and gave me extra time after school when I wanted to learn more. He asked how things were going, and I told him a bit, how I started my own team, took on contracts, grew the business. He smiled, wide and proud. You were always the one who showed up early and left late, he said. I knew you'd do something big. For a second, I felt like that 16-year-old again, Greasy hands, spark in my chest, always trying to prove I could keep up with the boys in the shop. But now, I didn't need to keep up. I had passed them. I didn't just prove myself, I proved them wrong. Not with shouting, not with revenge, with results. That weekend, I took a long drive out past the city limits. Just me, a thermos of tea, and the open road. I stopped at an overlook I used to visit when I needed to think. And I thought about all the things I let go of. The need for validation from people who never saw me. The bitterness of being cast aside by my own blood. The urge to win them over. Because in the end, I didn't need their approval. I just needed to believe in my own damn value. And now I did. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to my dad's contact, and hovered for a moment. I wasn't going to call. Wasn't going to text. I just wanted to see the name one last time before deleting it. He made his choice, and I made mine. I tapped delete and felt a weight lift that I didn't even know I was still carrying. Later that month, we held a small appreciation lunch for the crew. Nothing fancy. Just a couple of pizzas, drinks, and a toast in the shop break room. I stood up to thank everyone, and Sam, in his usual laid-back way, raised his can and said, "To Lisa, the boss who actually gives a damn." Everyone cheered. And for once, I didn't shy away from it. I didn't downplay my role. I didn't say, "It's all of us," or "I'm just doing my job." Because the truth is, I was the reason this place worked. I carried the weight, I made the calls, I laid the foundation, and I deserved every bit of what I'd built. From the ashes of someone else's ego, I created something better, cleaner, stronger, mine. And as I looked around that room, at the people who showed up, worked hard, laughed freely, and treated each other with respect, I knew I'd never go back. Not even if they begged, because this story wasn't about proving anything to them anymore. It was about finally living for me. So yeah, they gave my golden brother the kingdom, but I built the empire. And the view from here? It's damn beautiful.